future. So it's going to be a lot of great stuff we're going to get into. I'm going to put the PowerPoint up right now. And just to give everyone an idea of who I am, I know some of you may know who I am, but for those that don't, just want to let you know who I am. My name is Dr. Joshua Fredenberg. And number one, I'm a national speaker. So what I do is travel the country, speaking about 80% on college campuses, 20% high school, as well as business organizations and companies. Since COVID-19, it kind of shifted. I've done a lot more virtual stuff since then, but I am a speaker, author of 7 books, have a couple of them coming out later this year. Leadership, diversity, inclusion consultant. So I do a lot of different work around diversity, leadership, retention, engagement. And also the president of the Circular Change Leadership Conference. I see some of our leadership coaches on here today. So I'm excited to have them on here as well. So that's ultimately what I do. And again, my goal is to empower people and really to make an impact in the world. And so just want to give you a little bit of idea of who I am. Now, as I begin to tell you a little bit more who I am, I want to just, share my story with you, because I think if we're going to talk about speaking and becoming a public speaker, I think it's always good just to have an idea of my story and how I evolved and how I got to where I am today. For me, it was several years ago when I went to Long Beach State University. I was an incoming freshman. And at that time, my aspiration was very simple. I had aspirations of one day becoming a national basketball player. So my aspirations from the age of 6 all the way to 19 years of age was that I was going to be a professional athlete. I was going to be playing in front of all kinds of audience members. I was going to be a sports broadcaster afterwards. I mean, I was very clear about what I was getting ready to do. And as I was in this journey, my sophomore year, my freshman year, I tried out for the basketball team, and they said that I was going to be able to make it. But unfortunately, I got rejected by one player. So one player, I ended up not being able to be on the team my freshman year. But because I was not a quitter, because I believe you got to persevere and not give up, I started going hard again and tried out for the team again. And the second year, wasn't able to make it again, despite how great I did in tryouts. And so from that moment on, I was a little surprised. I'm like, well, what am I going to do? What is my career going to look like? And I had a public speaking class. It was public speaking. I believe it was persuasive communication. And I'm in this persuasive communication class. And literally while I'm in this class, they asked me to do a presentation. And at the time I was really nervous, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to do okay? Am I going to be a great speaker? So I had a lot of challenges that were going on before this, because again, you got to remember, at this time I had never spoken ever in my life. And so I give my presentation and I start speaking and I start articulating. It's just flowing. It's just boom, boom, boom. And the professor's like, yeah. And the professor is just so excited and so engaged by my presentation that not only do I end up getting an A, but she says I'm a great speaker. And so at that point, I discovered that I had a gift. I had a gift to speak. And then from that point, I developed a passion to speak. And as I tell people all the time, I gave my first presentation and 50% of people started bawling in tears. And so at that point, throughout my journey in college, I came to the realization that I'm going in and out. Someone put on mute. I came to that realization that I was going to be this speaker. That was my vision. That was my dream. And that's exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm sure many of you are on this call today because you feel the same way. You want to be a speaker. You want to transform lives. You have a message to share. And listen, that's where I was. I was excited. I was exuberant. I was like, man, I got to do this. But there was a problem. And this is the problem. The problem was I had a lot of passion. I was doing a lot of free speaking engagements. I was talking a lot, but I did not know how to transition from speaking being a hobby and more, or maybe just a way to give back, to actually becoming a business and actually becoming a way in which I make a living doing what I love to do, which is empower and transform lives. So this was my dilemma throughout college. So because there never was a blueprint, I had no idea how to be a speaker. I was just like, okay, what am I going to do? And literally my last year, I graduated at the age of 22 years of age, and I got invited to this event. And there was another guy there that was a motivational speaker, and he said, you got to connect with this lady named Yolanda Harris. Now, Yolanda Harris, she used to work with Anthony Robbins, and at this time, she created her own training program where she would help speakers become speakers and ultimately go out there and share their message with the world. And so immediately when I heard about it, I was like, hey, sign me up. I got to talk to her. I want to do this. I really want to do this. And so we had a conversation. She began to tell me about what she did. I began to tell her how inspired I was to become a speaker. And you got to remember, I just graduated. I was working on the Wayne Brady show. I was making about $600 per week. And then she says, my speaking program is $10,000. Now, again, understand, I just graduated. I'm making $600 a week, working on the Wayne Brady show, trying to pay my bills, trying to pay off loans. And then I have this dream, but in order for this dream to become a reality, she says it's going to cost you $10,000. I didn't stutter, 10K. That was the investment for a whole year for her to help me to become a speaker. And like most people, I was like, I don't know where this money is going to come from, but this is what I learned. Because I was so passionate and because I wanted to do it so bad, I was going to figure out how I was going to make it happen. It kind of reminds me of what my friend Delatoro McNeil always says. He says, if your why is bigger than your what, the how will come. And I think that was so true for me, that I wanted to be a speaker so bad that I was going to figure out how I was going to invest in this program. And I wasn't able to give 10K up front, and I wasn't even able to pay $1,000 a month, but we worked out a deal and I paid $400 per month. And ultimately I was able to get trained on being a speaker. And I'll be very honest with you. After this experience with Yolanda Harris, as you see me here speaking right now, the reason I'm able to speak and I always go back to her is solely because of her. If I never had this training, I do not believe that I would be serving as a speaker right now. It was a big investment. It was a huge investment. But again, without her, I would not be in the position that I am today. And it was at this point that I began to speak and I began to travel. And as I began to travel and I began to speak and I began to travel all across the country, I would have a variety of people that would come up to me and say, I want to be a speaker. I want to be a speaker. I want to be a speaker. And although I wanted to help, although I wanted to encourage, although I wanted to advise, the truth be told, there's no way that I could give all the information that is needed for someone to become a speaker in a 5 to 10 minute conversation. And so ultimately I would do my best and I would give pointers and I would give tips, knowing that they were going to need much more information in order to become a speaker. And that's just one of the things that I realized. And so it was at this point, after hearing from a lot of people wanting to be a speaker and talking to people and really wanting to help people get their message out. I think if there's ever a time that people need to speak and people need to share their message with the world, I think it's right now. But I understood that in order for that to happen, in order for people to make that a living, then they're going to have to know how to create what I call a speaking business. And so it was from that point that I decided to launch my speaker boot camp. So I launched this program. Actually, last year was the second year, but it was a couple of years ago I launched this program. And really the goal was really simple. It was really to not only help people to get the tools and get the information that I have learned in order to become a speaker, but more importantly was to help them to get their message out to the world. In essence, as I said earlier, you're going to get some good information today, but I'm telling you that in order for me to really give you what you need, you're going to have to go through some sort of program. It may not be mine, it could be somebody else's, but I'm a firm believer. If you're going to be successful as a speaker, you're going to have to invest in some type of speaker training program. That's me, and that's a variety of other speakers as well. And so I decided to create one because I wanted to help people and I wanted to help them to get their message out. And so it was in this experience tonight that before I actually get ready to give you, I'm not going to just give you 3 points. I'm going to give you 4 points tonight. I say, you know what? They're taking time out of their schedule to be a part of this program tonight. And so I'm not going to just give you 3 questions I originally said. I'm actually going to give you 4 tonight. But before I do that, I want to bring Adriana and Angelica on. So Adriana and Angelica, if you all both can begin to show your faces. And the reason I want to show Angelica and Adriana is because the both of them actually participated in the program last year. And I'm telling you, it was transformational, not only for them, but the amazing thing about when you're a teacher and when you're sharing your knowledge with people is I started learning some stuff as well. And so that's what I love about this program. Not only am I able to give back, but then they give back as well. So I wanted them to come on so you can hear their story, hear what they learned. and they're going to share they're going to share their experience. And then what they're going to share is 5 speaking points that they believe will be beneficial for you. So I don't know who wants to go first. Angelica, Adriana, who wants to go first?
You go,
Adriana. I think Angelica. Go on. Okay, it's on you. It's on you, Adriana. So tell everyone about yourself. Tell them about your experience, and then most importantly, share with them the five key things you took from the speaker bootcamp that you think will be beneficial. It's on you.
Oh, wow, I got like 7. But let me just introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Adriana Smith. I am a speaker. I'm also the owner of a life coaching agency called The Huddle Agency. I am a former NBA dancer and NFL cheerleader. And I just want to share a little bit about my experience in this program and what I've learned just being in the program. Josh is an amazing speaker and also coach. We learned so many things in the program, but my experience was very well. I had a great experience with Dr. Joshua Fredenberg. And, you know, I just learned so much. I was someone who knew I had a gift to speak, but I did not understand the business side of speaking, right? And so sometimes we can have the gift, we can have the talent, but we're lacking the structure and the business side of being a speaker. So what I want to do is share my top 5. It's hard because we learned a lot. We learned a lot, so it was so hard, but 5 things I can say. When considering coming into this program or just wanting to be a speaker, you need to identify why you want to be a speaker. This is so key because if you don't understand why you want to speak, you're not going to take the business side of it seriously. And it's going to be so easy for you to throw in the towel and to quit when you realize that speaking, it may look glamorous, but there's another side to it, you know, that we don't see, you know, the constant grinding, networking, reaching out to people just so you can get booked. So if you're not passionate about it, and if you just want to do it because it's fun, I think you need to identify your why, right? Also, what is your message? What is your message, and who is your voice called to impact? This is key because you can say you want to speak, but you need to identify the who. Now that you know the why, you need to identify the who, because you need to know what is my message, what is my story, and how is my story going to connect with a certain group of people. I always say your voice is called to a certain group of people, and so it's important that you identify that. Once you are able to identify your story, you need to identify the people that it's going to connect with. So for me, I had to really hone in on that. Like, okay, what is my story and who is my voice called to impact, right? The next thing, the third thing, always be a student. As a speaker, you should never think that you have arrived or you already know everything. You should know the market you want to speak in, whether it's corporate, whether it's schools, you know, whether it's in sports, like for me, that's what I want to do, you know, whether it's in sports, or even for those of you on here who may be in the ministry aspect of it or the faith-based industry, you need to make sure you are a student. Study those that are in your field. Why do they get booked? You know, why do everybody rave about when they speak? You know, what is it that they do that causes them to be unique and stand out? It is so important that you study that, because as you study other people that may be in the industry that you want to go into as a speaker, now you're understanding what adjustments you need to make and how you need to improve. Number 4, perfect your craft. As Dr. Joshua is on here allowing us to come and just share our experience, and you know, those of you who are on here right now, you are interested in growing as a speaker. Make the investment and perfect your craft. I know, you know, some of us feel as though we can just go ahead and do it on our own, but it's so important, because here's the thing. When you invest in yourself and you're perfecting your craft, it's going to show. It is going to show, and you're going to see that you are transforming as a speaker. You're going to see that you're getting sharper in your craft. There are some things about your speaking that you're going to fine tune and tweak. Matter of fact, there's some stuff on the business side that you may not even know that is unpolished, and you're going to go ahead and fix certain things so that way you can get booked. And lastly, we're going to talk about the business side. This is what you're going to learn. Because as Dr. Joshua was talking about, you know, going from making this a hobby and actually a business, This is so important for you all to know and to learn, and even for me that I had to learn, because here's the reality. When you're reaching out to certain people, people want to know, are you truly a professional speaker? So you have to have your website in place. Do you have a way or a method for people to go ahead and book you? You know, do you even have a price point? Do you have your contracts in order? Like, this is the business side of speaking that I feel as though a lot of us who want to be aspiring speakers or professional speakers, we don't really think too much about it, and we need to. Do you have your speaker kit ready? Do you have all of that stuff in order, so that way if the opportunity was to present itself, that you will be able to say, hey, I'm ready, right? Do you have it all the way together, so when you are reaching out to other people for a potential opportunity and they ask for something, do you have it? You know, do you have it? So I always say that make sure that you also understand that you're not just speaking for fun, but this is a business. If you want to speak for fun, that's fine. But for those of you on here who say, look, I'm trying to speak so I could be paid, you need to make sure that you have the business side in order, because that is going to play a key role in you growing as a professional. So your branding and marketing, think about that. How do you want to present and package your message? How do you want to present and package your voice? What do you want to be known for? What kind of speaker do you want to be known for on your social media? If we was to go on your social media page today, can we identify you as a speaker? If the answer is no, then we have some work to do. So I just wanted to share those quick 5 tips, and we could pass it over to Angelica. And if Josh have any questions after this for me and Angelica, we'll be here to answer.
No, you did a good job, AJ. That's awesome, man. She just, great communication. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome. Angelica, I'll let you share now. So Angelica, take it away.
That was awesome, Adriana. There's a main reason, Adriana, right? Like just watching her speak when we started the course with Joshua, right? Like we were searching and asking a lot of questions, and Adriana, just like your presence and what you just shared, that alone speaks volumes. That speaks volumes just being in class with you. Hello everyone. Hello Joshua. Hello Adriana. I'm Angelica Castro. I use she, her, they, them pronouns. A couple of things. I'm a mother of 4 amazing children. I am the Associate Director of Community Engagement for Mount Holyoke College. And I also am the Chief Transformation Officer of Castro Collaborative. It's a diversity, equity, inclusion consulting and executive leadership coaching firm. So I actually have a background as an actor. I was living in San Francisco Bay Area, and I was in some of Robin Williams. Robin Williams films his movies there on Treasure Island. It's the island between San Francisco and Oakland. So I was in 3 different movies, and I have an acting background. But sometimes speaking your own message, is hard. It's like I can be an actor, but sometimes when I would get up on stage and speak from my heart and speak about my story, I get really vulnerable. And so for a long time, I thought that there was no place, it's like, okay, well, when I get through kind of like feeling like I want to cry or feeling vulnerable, then maybe I can really step up and be a great speaker. And I've realized that that's part of my gift is being able to be vulnerable. And I've realized when I do trainings and I do coaching, my ability to be vulnerable allows people to open up as well. And so Adriana had a lot of great tips, and I have some some of them are similar, but I'll take another angle. I was thinking about what I wanted to share. And so I was thinking about why speaking and why Joshua, right? So like those are the 2 things. So why speaking? I mean, we all right now, the world needs to hear our messages, your message. Today I was mourning, trying not to get so emotional, but I was mourning today because of all the stuff that's happening in the media. And I have, like I said, I'm the mother of 4 multiracial children. And so anytime, someone gets killed, it touches me, and I'm sure it touches all of you too, but it's just in a deep way, because sometimes I see my children, right? It's like, it could be any one of my children. So today I just spent the whole day mourning and crying. And I think about, these are the times I just am convinced like the world needs to hear how we feel. They need to hear our voice. we need to speak out against injustice or whatever your message is. So that's why, like, just that alone is, is so important. And sometimes we think, well, someone's already speaking about racial justice, or someone's already speaking about diversity, equity, inclusion. Someone's already doing that. But you're also unique. You have a unique perspective. And so to think about, you have a different experience. Your experience is different than anyone on this call, anyone in the world, right? Like where you've come from, what you've gone through. So there's someone that's waiting to hear from you. There's someone that my story might not resonate with, but your story resonates with them. Joshua's story might not resonate with them, or Adriana's message and story might not resonate with them, but your story, you're the one that they've been wanting to hear or waiting to hear from. So when you think about, well, why me? If not you, then who? And if not now, then when? So those are the things I just wanted to say about speaking. And I could say a lot more, but just being mindful of time. But why Joshua? So, right, there's speaking classes. You can find them online. You can go on YouTube. But Joshua, and I know Adriana will agree with me when I say this, his passion for the work that he does, speaking and helping speakers find their voice and have a platform, is like unmatched. Like he went above and beyond. I think the class was only supposed to be a few weeks, and we kept meeting because he kept saying, what do you all need? Do you all need more? Okay, well, let's meet next week. And so I swear, whatever we paid for, it was already worth it from the first class. And then we just kept meeting, and he just went above and beyond. And even in our calls, he would just, Joshua, you would just get really passionate and, and really moved by the spirit. And it was just really transformational. Like that in itself for me was like worth everything. But also, in addition to that, Joshua, your knowledge and your experience, right? Like if you watch his videos, you're speaking in a lot of places, you're speaking to a lot of different folks. And so I feel like, your knowledge and your experience is also very valuable. And their connections, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know. And so you can learn speaking from someone else or from YouTube or from Google, right? But Joshua is really connected. And I think for me, it was, your circle of leadership, circle of change conference. And, you're doing a lot of amazing things in the world. So I feel like you had so much to teach and so much to give. And so again, being mindful of time, those are just the three things. So speaking, your perspective is unique. The world needs your messages. The world needs to hear your voice. And Joshua, I guarantee will give you everything you need and more. Like you won't leave this course thinking, wow, I didn't get that, or I wish I would have asked, or I wish Joshua would have offered. Like you'll leave this course getting everything you need, every question answered. I guarantee that. So that's how I felt when we finally ended the class. I was like, wow, that was more value than I expected. So that's my perspective, and I just wanted to share that. And if you have any questions, yeah, definitely feel free to ask.
Well, that was amazing, Angelica. Really heartwarming as well. That was powerful, and thank you for the words. And I'm glad you had that experience. I'm so glad about that. And to be honest with you, we really did have an amazing experience. It was just our conversation was so inspirational. It was like divinely connected. It was so amazing and so transformational. We actually still got one class with them because they're supposed to actually do their presentations. We're going to still do that, by the way. We still have to do that, by the way, because I wanted the world to see their message, and I wanted the world to hear what they had to say. Because as you can tell, they both have a message, they both have a heart, and they both have an ability to impact lives. And so it's just an honor to have both of you. And thank you all for coming tonight, because I didn't want to just talk about the program. I wanted you actually to hear from people that experienced the program as well, because I think that is extremely important. And so we're going to still get to the 4 points, but I did want to say this, that we're getting ready to launch our 2020 Speaker Bootcamp Monday, June 29th through September 7th. And it's 3 months because there's a variety of different different sessions, like as far as time and schedule and travel and stuff like that. Again, I'm going to give you the 4 points. So I'm not done yet, so I don't want people to think I'm done. But I want to make you aware of this. So if you're interested in becoming a part of the boot camp that starts in June, there's a one-time payment. It's actually went up $100, but there's a one-time payment of $599, 3 months of $200, and then a 6 months of $100. So if you're interested in being a part of the program, we'd love to have you this year, and we'll talk more about it later as well. But if you're interested, you can email me there. But we're definitely going to get into our 4 points tonight, because I definitely want to make sure that that provide that with you as well. But just want to give you that information for those that may be interested to be a part of the program this summer. Again, as Angelica said, you got a message and you need to get the message to the world. And as I've shared, I'm sure Adriana and Angelica share, someone has to help you to develop the system that needs to be in place in order to become a speaker. That was that. We're going to get into it. And I'm going to have involvement as well. So be ready to answer some questions, everybody that's in this session. But we're going to get into it. And so I'm going to go these are 4 basic questions that I believe every speaker should consider. One of the things I shared when I was talking to Angelica today is there's actually one session I'm adding that I didn't talk about in their program, which deals with digital marketing as it relates to speaker, virtual speaking, because I think that's not only something that's important now, but I don't believe that's going away. And so I'm going to begin to talk more about that as well in the next session. But we're going to get through 4 questions. I'm going to need your involvement as we get through it. But the first question that I think is essential for every speaker, and Adriana, we didn't talk about it. She just happened to say what I was getting ready to say. But the first one is, what are 7 passionate reasons why you desire to become a professional speaker? The first question we gotta consider is, what are 7 reasons why you want to become a speaker? What's your passion? What's your reason to become a speaker? I think that's so incredibly important. And the reason why I think this is so important as far as it relates to becoming a speaker is because as you'll find, this journey's not easy. This journey's tough. There's going to be sacrifices. There's going to be rejection. There's going to be failure. There's going to be moments where you're going to be ready to give up. This road is not easy. And so I always tell people to develop a set of passionate reasons why, because when you get to a point where you're ready to give up, when you get to a point where you're ready to throw in the towel, or maybe on the flip side, maybe you have multiple engagements. Maybe you're traveling from city to city. Maybe you're doing really well, but the truth be told, you're going to get tired. I mean, I can remember where I did 5 different cities in 5 days, going from airplane to airplane. And I love to speak, but I got to be really honest with you. I would get tired. And I'd be like, man, do I really got to go up here on stage tonight and give 110%? Because if anyone's ever heard me speak, they know I sweat. And I'm like, hey, so I'm 110%. And so that takes work. That takes energy. And so when I need that energy, when I need that strength, I go back to my why. I go back to the reason why I became a speaker. And it's that why that propels me. It's that why that doesn't let me give up. And just one of the things I shared with the group, and I'll share with you, there's a book that we use called The Wealthy Speaker. It's by Jane Atkinson. Many of you could order it online if you like. But she said she has a tier of becoming a speaker. She has it broken down the first 3 years, the next 3 years, and then she says 7 to 9 years. And in the first year, she says, you got to make the speech good. You got to position yourself. You got to build your marketing materials, build relationships. Now, this is the thing. Many people think that once I want to become a speaker, that people are going to start calling me and I'm going to be on demand and I'm going to be like, hey, it's not going to happen like that. And any speaker that tells you that, they're lying to you. Unless you're a celebrity, unless you're someone famous, or you have an amazing story, most of the time it takes work and it takes preparation. And this is where it becomes challenging, because when you're not getting the bookings as quick as you like, when you're not seeing the return on your investment as quick as you like, that's when it can become challenging. That's when you can become frustrated. And sometimes that's when people just can't make it. And I love to share this story. So this is Long Beach. This is the city of Long Beach. And I live in Long Beach and I live in Miami. And I'll never forget when I was about 2 years after becoming a speaker, there came a point where I become a speaker. I don't know why my face isn't coming up, but that's so weird. Let me put gallery so in. Okay, cool. I remember when I had this desire to become a speaker, and I had just finished the program, And I remember I was at the beach and nobody was calling me. I mean, literally no one was calling me. No one was calling me to speak. I was so frustrated. I was like, are you kidding me? I just invested and nobody's calling me. And I'll never forget, I was at the beach and I started to pray. And I was like, God, what's going on? This isn't making sense. And I remember I felt like, you know, for me, I'm spiritual. I felt like the Holy Spirit impressed my heart and was like, if you don't go, someone's not going to hear your message. In essence, if I don't keep going, there's someone that may not be impacted by my message. And as Angelica said so clearly, I think the same is true for many of you on the phone. If you don't go, who's not going to be impacted? Who's not going to be inspired? If you throw in the towel, I mean, come on, we can talk about racism today. We can talk about the injustice. If you don't go and if you don't speak and if you don't articulate your voice, imagine the people that are going to be affected. That's where I was. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to be a speaker, because I wanted to share my message with the world. And so it was at that point that I continued to push through and I continued to go. And based on that, I'm here speaking 15 years later, because at that point, my why, the reason why I wanted to be a speaker, was bigger than my obstacle. And so before I begin to move forward, just want to really quick, I want those who are in the chat room, really quickly, if you can just share with me, why do you want to be a speaker? If you can share 1 to 2 things, I just want to know, why do you want to be a speaker? Why does this matter? And if anyone wants to come on, I'll let you come on here and share it with everyone else. I can bring you over as a panelist. If you like, just share it and, you know, get on here and tell everyone why. But my first question in the chat box, I would just like to know, why do you want to be a speaker? What is your reason? What's your main reason for being a speaker? So if you could put in the chat box, I would greatly appreciate that. I just want to get an idea. Why do you want to be a speaker? Why do you desire to change the world with your message? So I'm waiting and I'm waiting. Hopefully I get some interaction. I love Rajic of it, to enable and empower others on their journey. That's awesome. To empower others. See, I love what Rajic says, to empower others. If Rajic's not out there talking, someone's not going to be impacted. I love it, Robert. Impact that connect with change. Yep. Speaking allows me to impact and make change. Yes, it does. The change you can make through your voice. I love that. Xavier, I love it. I would like to impact the world with my story. Ooh, that's a good one. We can talk about that. Your story. What story do you have to tell? What story do you have to share? And we talk about that in the session. We talk about, you know, sharing your story, planting and watering seeds for greatness. Come on, Doug. I love it, man. I love it. I love it. Kate says to help other people thrive. Come on, come on. Troy, I love it. I'm a father of 5 adopted children. Wow, that's awesome, Troy. And also been a foster parent 20 years. Come on, Troy. Wait, I got to go back up here. I'm committed to diversity and want others to know that as a white man. That's important, Troy. A white man speaking about diversity. Man, do we need that right now. I commend you on that. That's amazing. Oh, come on. Joel L., let people know that you are not alone and can move forward. Come on. How many people feel like they're alone? I love it. I love it. Rochelle, I want to give students the tools and encourage them to take the next step. Come on. I love it. I love it. Vanessa, I want to be a speaker to empower Latinx, Chicanx students as they face racial and social injustices. I love it. Thank you all. Oh, Derek, I owe it to those who have been invested in me. I want to continue to invest and speak life to others. All these whys, these are phenomenal. I love what Angel, these are phenomenal. All these whys. Now here's the catch. If you don't go out and pursue your speaking, these people aren't going to be impacted. I want to sit there for a moment, because you all have incredible reasons why you want to be a speaker. You all have an incredible message to share with the world. But if you don't get out there and start going after it, how can we make impact? How can we make change? And I'm saying this because I'm convinced, you know, maybe there's fear, like, I don't know enough. Maybe I don't know if I really want to do this. I don't know if I really want to step out my comfort zone. I want you to know that you need to step out. People need to hear your message. And I want to share this for those that may be fear of failure or whatever the case may be. If you make your why big enough, your fear will be eradicated. I'll never forget. I'm not sure when you're familiar with T.D. Jakes, but he was sharing a message one day, and he was talking about how there was a young preacher, and the preacher wanted to speak, had this great opportunity to speak. So it was a great opportunity in faith-based ministry, and he called T.D. Jakes. He's like, I'm really, really nervous. And T.D. Jakes said, well, you've been speaking, for several years. Why are you nervous? He said, I'm just nervous because I want to perform well. And he said, that's the problem. He said, you're more concerned about yourself than the people. When you take it off of yourself and focus on the people, it's just going to flow. And I think this is true for some that some may be holding you back. Maybe there's a fear. If you focus on the importance of getting the message out, nothing else will be able to stop you. And that was my moment. That's how I continue to move forward. So that was absolutely amazing. I'm going to move on to the next question. No one said this, so we're going to be clear from here on out. The next question I want to ask is question number 2. What type of speaker do you desire to become? This is critical. Do you want to be a full-time speaker? Do you want to be a part-time speaker? Do you want to be a seasonal speaker? Do you want to be a trainer, a facilitator, a keynote speaker, or you want to be hybrid? You want to be between a trainer and a speaker? This is important because when I deal with speakers and I ask people the question, what kind of speaker do they want to be? I mean, there's several different routes. Maybe you want to be a keynote speaker. That's your thing, just speaking from the audience and deliver a keynote speech. Maybe you want to specialize in training, so you want to do trainings. Maybe you want to be a facilitator. Maybe you want to do assessments and based off those assessments do trainings. Or maybe you want to be a consultant. These are all things that many of us have to consider if we're going to become an effective speaker, because there's different types of speakers, and I encourage people to have what I call a hybrid approach. So for me, my bread and butter is keynote speaking. The reason I like to speak is I like to be in front of audiences, and I like to project, and I like to inspire audiences. But one of the things that I've learned in order to keep my business sustainable, I had to be multifaceted. And so I started doing training. So trainings has become another part of my repertoire. I'm getting ready to move into more so not just speaking coaching, but even coaching on other levels as well. And then also moving into more virtual e-learning courses. So there's got to be a plethora of different things that I feel in order to be successful as a speaker. Now, again, you got to make that decision, because one of the things that I've discovered in doing this program for 2 to 3 years is some people do not want to, some people, they don't want to be full-time speakers. They don't want to do the full-time. Maybe they want to be part-time. Maybe you want to work part-time and you want to speak part-time. Maybe you just want to speak seasonally. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have to make that decision for yourself. And the reason why this is so important is because based on the type of speaker that you want to become will have a direct impact on the business that you create. So business structure for a keynote may be different from a trainer. The business structure for someone that's maybe a coach and a speaker may be different from someone that's solely a keynote speaker. The business structure, say for instance, for someone that wants to be part-time or seasonal will be different from someone that is more of a keynote speaker. And so the second question that I think is essential to ask is, what type of speaker do you want to be? And so really quickly, again, for this chat, really quickly, if you would chime in, just want to get an idea, what type of speaker do you want to be? Do you want to be a full-time speaker? Do you want to be a part-time speaker? Do you want to do coaching? Do you want to do training? If you could just take the time in the chat room and just share what type of speaker do you want to be? Would love to learn about some of the different types of speaking that many of you desire to do. So part-time. So Doug said, I want to be a part-time speaker. Awesome. Awesome. Keynote part-time. Awesome, Vanessa. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Roger said, I'm a keynote. Hello. Xavier said, keynote and trainer. Awesome. Awesome. Ariana, keynote speaker, trainer, and facilitator. Keynote and coach. I love it, Derek. I'm a licensed professional counselor. So for me, I always do facilitation and training. Awesome, Robert. Awesome. Rochelle, training, coaching part-time. I love it. I love it. Robert Johnson would like to keynote. Okay, keynote as well. Thank you. I'm so glad you all are sharing me, coaching part-time for Kate. I love that. I'm so glad you're sharing this with me, because the truth be told, once you identify what you want to do, when we start setting up your business structure, when we start dealing with your branding, when we start dealing with your promotional videos, all that stuff will matter as far as the structure and the system that you put in place. So if someone's a keynote speaker, their business module, although it may have similar things, may be a little different from someone that wants to be a coach or someone that wants to be a trainer. So it's really important that we identify that. And just to give you more of a caveat on that as well, once you identify that, start finding people online that are doing what you want to do. Find someone that's just a keynote speaker. Find someone that's a trainer. Just begin to research and search and figure out what are they doing, what helps them to stand out. So that's really, 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 really good. I thank you all so much for sharing that. We're going to move on to our third question for tonight. Our third question for tonight. That's me speaking, but we're going to move on. Question number 3. Oh, this is a big one. It's a big one. What is your target market? Let's come back real quick. Let's deal with this. Who is your target market? Oh, wait a minute, Josh. Speakers have a target market? Yes. Remember, it's not just speaking, it's a speaking business. And any business owner understands that in order to be successful, they got to understand their target market. Now, Josh, why do you talk about this as far as speaking? The reason I talk about this as far as speaking is concerned is because I'm going to show you something really quickly. When I talk about the market, I'm giving you 5 markets, just speaking markets off the top. Number 1 is high school. If you're going to go speak in the high school market, it's going to be a little different from the college market, from the faith market, from the business market, and the nonprofit. These are 5 different markets that you can gear your message to. Now, again, there are people that will integrate each market. But again, when you're marketing to these markets, you have to understand what they're looking for, and you have to understand the differences from each of them. So for instance, if I'm going to speak to youth or high school, that will be a little different. That will be a little different from, say, for instance, college. If I want to go to business, that may be a little different from high school into college. And there's different ways in which you market to each audience. And so you have to definitely be aware of what market you desire to pursue, because again, based on your market, the website, the promotional material, the video should cater to that market. So like, for instance, if I wanted to go speak in a faith-based market, I'm not going to market what I would market to colleges to a faith-based market, because it just doesn't make sense. Because a faith-based market, they're going to want me to do the Bible. They want to say it may be preaching, and that's a whole different type of communication versus just being a public speaker. If I wanted to go to corporate America, but I was saying in high school, I can't, my story's important, my story's wonderful, but they're going to want results. They're going to want return on investment. These are just some of the things that you have to think about. Then it may be sales, it may be diversity and inclusion. And so one of the things that I've done, one of the things that I did, I had Yolanda Harris, and I'm showing her again, because I'll never forget when I first started speaking, I'm seeing some people put stuff, college students, workforce, organization. I see high school a couple of times. And the reason I share this with you is because I'll never forget when literally, this is a true story. I never forget when I first started speaking, I went to Yolanda Harris and I was like, hey, Yolanda, I want to speak to this audience. I want to speak to this audience. And she's like, hold up. I'm like, what? She's like, wait a minute. And so, what do you mean, wait a minute? She said, you got to wait a minute. She said, your message is great, but you can't focus on all at one time. You got to focus on one and build out from there. And then she said, who are you most passionate about? And as I thought about all the different things, I said, my passion is college. I have a passion for college students. That's who I want to target. And so I started targeting college students. And out of that, I would get high school, I would get corporations, I would get faith-based, but college was my bread and butter. But that's exactly where I was focused at. That's who I wanted to pursue. And so my website was built around it. My materials were built around it. My video was built around it. My research was built around it. And that's who I began to pursue. And I truly believe one of the reasons that I'm in the position today is because I focused on college, I focused on my market, and I focused on where I wanted to go. And so just really quickly, and people have already said it really quickly, what markets do we have out there? Are there any other markets? I saw high school, college, and nonprofit for Doug. I saw high school for Kate. I've done all 5 of them. I like that, Troy. Okay. I do think you should narrow down to 1 or 2, Troy. Yes, I do. Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely think I've been hired just for 26, but really want to branch out. Yeah, Troy, for me, it just comes down to, and I'm going to give him another question. My bonus is going to be real critical. But it's really about your passion. Like who's your passion? Like, who are you passionate about? If you're not passionate with higher education, definitely step out there. That's awesome. Vanessa, national organizations. Okay. Now, Vanessa, or Dr. Bustamante, I'm going to be a little more specific. When you deal with that, are you dealing more with professionals or are you dealing more with college? So just get a little more specific on that. Zach, college and high school. Yep. Okay. Awesome. This is critical. This is critical to identify what that is. And then again, as I said earlier, you can focus on that market and then you can start to branch out. And so I'm going to move on to my next one really quickly as we're going along. So Yolanda shared that with me. And then and the next question that I think will bring some clarity is, what groups or people will pay you for your message? Here it goes. Who's going to pay you to speak about your message? It's critical. who has the money to pay you? So if I'm going to go to high schools, who's going to pay me in high schools, number one? And number two, what topics are they going to pay me for in the high school market? If I want to go to the faith-based community, what message are they going to pay for? Who is going to pay for the message? So now we're getting a little more specific, because now what we're doing is we're identifying, not only are we identifying our market, but we're identifying who's going to actually have the finances to fund my business or my message with the world. I'll never forget, and I'll share this story with you. I shared it in my boot camp. When I first began a speaker, one of my core messages was vision. I had this passion to help people find a vision. I had 4 steps to help you find a vision. You know, get a vision for your life. You're going to be an effective leader. You got to have a vision. If you're going to succeed in life, you have to have a vision. Here was the problem. The problem was most colleges are not going to pay me to come talk about vision. It's just a reality. They're not. If I go to an activities board, if I go to a new student orientation, again, these are places that have money to pay speakers in the college market. If I go to Office of Multicultural, if I go to Career Services, if I go to Student Success, if I go to TRIO, now again, I'm giving you these names because for those that want to go into the college market, I'm telling you the people that have the budget to pay you to come speak, and you have to be aware of that. I have a lot of speaker friends that say there's 19 people in the college market that you can go to promote to that will pay you for your message. But if I went to these people and I said vision, well, that doesn't make sense. Some may not even know what vision is. But what I knew they would pay for is leadership. I knew they would pay for leadership. And so what I had to do is I had to scratch vision and become a leadership speaker and put vision underneath my leadership message. So I'm getting the message of vision out. It's just coming under a leadership message because people are not paying to talk about vision. They're paying to talk about leadership. There's many more opportunities to be a leadership speaker where I was getting my doctorate in that, but I can incorporate vision under that. So it's really important that you understand who's going to pay you for your message. And one of the industries I'm moving into slowly is corporate. I'm slowly moving into corporate. And so one of the things I realized about corporate is that corporate is looking for one of their problems is retention, is engagement, and it's developing culturally diverse leaders. So what am I doing? Well, you'll learn this. You can learn this in this session. I'm developing a book, developing about credibility and expertise around a topic that it will connect and solve a problem for the corporate audience. And so I'm strategically positioning myself into that specific market to give more presentations there as well. And so these are some of the strategies that you have to think about as it relates to ultimately becoming a speaker. And so what I want to ask, what I encourage many of you to do as you make this journey towards becoming a speaker, towards getting your voice out there, is beginning to identify who has the budget, who has the money to pay you to share your message. And also I want to say this really quickly, and this is the truth. Some of you may be giving free presentations right now that someone may pay you $35,000 to $4,000 for right now. Some of you are on college campuses right now. You are an exceptional speaker. You're an exceptional trainer, facilitator, maybe in your organization. And I'm telling you right this moment, if you package yourself the right way, people will pay you $35,000 to $4,000 for your message right this very moment. So I want that to sink in. For some, if you're going to corporate, for some that have experience, it can be even more than that. And so what I did want to share, I'm going to open up for questions. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask me, Angelica, or Adriana any questions. But I just want to share this with you all again before we get into the questions. I'm going to be launching this program in the next month. And so if you want to reserve your spot, you can email me visionxybookings@gmail.com. One-time payment of $600. I understand COVID. If you want to do a 3-time payment of $200, let me know. And 6 months of $100, let me know. Doing whatever I can to give you an opportunity to be part of this speaker boot camp, because I do believe you have a voice. I believe we need to get the message out there. And so I just want to keep that there for many of you just to consider moving forward. So please feel free to share if you're interested in this program moving forward. But now I want to open it up for questions. We got about 9 minutes left. So if you have any questions, please feel free. 3,500 to 4K per gig per attendees. It just depends on the situation, Ariana. I've got paid that for up to 12 people. So it depends on what you're doing. It all depends where you're speaking and what you're doing. Trainings, you can get that more so trainings, but it just all depends. And that's something we talk about as far as negotiation and as far as price range. I know there's some higher ed professionals in here. They could probably chime in on that as well. So great question, great question. Any other questions that someone would like to share? Okay, Rochelle, I said, should becoming a speaker that is paid, should I do non-paid speaking to build my brand following engagement? Yes, you should. You should do non-paid. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you definitely should do non-paid. Listen, I do a lot of free presentations. The key when you do a free presentation is you got to understand that every time you get up, who are you talking to? So like within the college market, I'll do free workshops. I'll do different events. But I understand there may be people in that audience that are actually looking for speakers. There are literally events where people are literally looking for speakers and looking for people to book, looking for literally free gigs. So I would do that. Also, what I found is I think you should give back. And sometimes people don't have the money. If they don't have the money, you still want to give back if you can. So I don't, again, we're not here to make everyone pay. But, if someone doesn't have the money, but you want to help people, again, we're doing it to help people. That's something you can do as well. Do you have a website? I have a website and it gets a lot of traffic, yet they do little bookings. I do have a website, Troy, and we can talk more about that because there's some ways that you can use that to position yourself for more bookings. So yeah, that there's a lot in that question, Troy. Real quick, I think Adriana want to say something. You want to say something, Adriana?
Okay, because when you said should becoming a speaker that is paid, should I do non-speaking engagements to build brand following, gain experience, etc. before being put? I definitely think that you should do that, but I also believe that we should take advantage of social media. The reason why is if you can provide people with free content, your social media, if you're speaking, that you are giving people free content where they could go ahead and see your delivery, what you speak on, the amount of engagements you receive on you speaking. I think we don't really utilize our social media in the way that we should, especially in this time, because here's the reality. If you're just starting out, we're not in a position right now where people are going to be booking you to come speak face to face. So what can you provide for free to stand out and to start building your brand and building your following and building that engagement to where you don't have to kind of go out and do, the free one-on-one speaking engagements because you already done built that brand and that following now online. I'm telling you what I know. Go ahead, utilize that social media, give people free content and make sure it's good. And if people that want to book you, guess what? Your social media has now become your resume. People will go to your social media to see, do you have influence? Do you have a following? Are people engaged or connected to your message? If you can get that down pat online, it's going to save you the hassle, because here's the reality. This is not like how it was back in the day. We're in a new time. We have a lot of technology. We have a lot of ways for us to reach and connect people. And so the way someone had to do it in the past is really not the way you have to do it right now. If you just be smart and strategic and you utilize these free platforms to pretty much start building your following and start getting your voice out there and engaging with the people you want to reach, then.
That's awesome. I love it. I see a question. Oh, yeah. Want to say, Angelica? Yeah, please feel free to share. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to piggyback on what Adriana was saying, but a couple of things I wanted to share. That saying, the riches is in the niches. And it's, like Joshua was saying, if you have a message, and if you have a specific, your ideal client, things will grow. And, I speak at colleges. I also do trainings for corporations. And so, because I've been doing this for a while, but when you start having all these different audiences, is really challenging. And so that will come. So I think the more that you can really niche down, like be specific about who your ideal client is, it's and when they say when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So it's kind of like when someone, and just think about your experiences in terms of the folks you all listen to, the folks that speak to you, like Joshua was saying, like, you know, anyone that really speaks to you, just study them, you know, and do some research on them, and see how they position themselves. And then the other thing I want to add is really about, I think, Adriana, you were just talking about using their platforms. When you do free engagements, you know, think about speaking on a stage or speaking to an audience. It's really like networking on steroids, right? Like when you're in a room networking, you're speaking to one person at a time, or two or three people at a time. But this allows you, even if you're up there for 10 minutes, just to give your message, say a little bit something about you. Everyone in the room or everyone in the Zoom call, you know, maybe it's 10, 30, 100, 200 people, they all see you and know you. So if you did something for free and spoke to a group of folks and you had one or two people approach you after that, you know, it's worth it. So definitely when you get started, I think it gets to a point where then, like you said, Joshua, you're doing free talks because that's a, you know, paying things forward or giving back. But it is a place to start. So.
Great point. And that's those two great points. I would also respond to Justin, virtual public speaker, very much so. That's a huge avenue right now on so many levels. Number one, organization. Well, number one, I have my mentor once told me, she said, she deals with like speakers that make 25K, 50K. And yeah, you can make that much money. And she was telling me how they said about 12 to 18 months before we get to major events that normally will pay speakers at that level. And so everyone understands, if you're a speaker, you understand you got to pivot to becoming a virtual speaker. So that is definitely the pivot right now. I don't think it's going away. I think it's hybrid. And so if you went to research most speakers that are on the cutting edge and that are aware of what we're doing, they should have virtual on their websites right now. If you go to, I created a whole web page based on that. I'm even thinking of ways on how to elevate my virtual keynote presentations. So that's a whole nother message because Zoom, this is good and it's cool, but there's other things you can do to elevate your message. And so there's a lot of opportunity there. Number two, I want to say virtual, you're still going to have the same concept. You're still going to have to understand the business. You're still going to have a system in place. You can't get away from that to be a virtual public speaker. And also on the flip side, you can also do webinars. That's a whole nother conversation, e-learning courses. So yes, there's a great opportunity there. Ariana, how do you determine your price range? That's a very good question. Number one, assess the market and know what is the market paying? You know, what is the standard for the market? But even before that, what is your value? I think one of the challenges is not undervaluing yourself. What are you bringing to the table? What type of results are you bringing? I'll just share this nugget. So one of the things I'm going to start implementing as a speaker, haven't done it until now, is I'm going to start doing assessments. The reason I'm going to do assessments, because number one, I've done it, but I think that if you can assess your audience and give it back to the client and show them how it was impactful, that provides great value. And so I just think that is really important as far as your value, as far as what the market is paying. And then based on that, you make your decision. So like, for instance, in the college market, I'm in a group with a lot of different speaker friends, and we talk about different things. But one of the things that came up is how are you pricing yourself with virtual, right? Because virtual is different from traveling. So it's a different experience. It's, is it even worth as much? So that's the big debate right now. Should you still get your full fee doing something virtually versus in person? And so that's still up for debate. What I found is most people are not, well, some are getting the full rate, but I found that there's a discount, when you take certain things off as far as travel, as far as hotel and saving money. So, and then also just different budgets and understanding different budgets. I tell people all the time, I'm negotiable. So it just depends on the situation, depends on the budget. So, it's just understanding what people will pay and asking the right questions and knowing where you fall. So there's a lot of different dynamics behind that, but I hope I was able to answer that question accurately for you. Any other questions? I don't see any more questions. Oh, okay. How often are participants in the boot camp meeting? That's a great question. Man, that's a great question. Honestly, Derek, the goal was every single week, as Adriana and Angelica said, I travel a lot. So my travel was crazy. So and Angelica was like, Josh, I got to get back to school. So, I mean, we just talked to each other and figure out, okay, what's going to be the best. And we would just make it work. So it can be every other week. I would prefer every other week. So that gives you time to really go through, because there's questions, there's a workbook. So you can really, really think through that. But it's basically it's all based on schedule and what works best for everybody else. And normally we just go from there. And it worked really good. I mean, our sessions are so powerful. I mean, I'm getting inspired right now just talking about it, but these mastermind sessions are so powerful, and you start creating, you start learning, you start, just different perspectives. So we talk about it as a group. Obviously the first one will be on that Monday. But from there, we talk about ways that we can make it work into everyone's schedule. Thank you. Ariana, what would—
Can I just add something?
Yes.
You said a mastermind, and that was also the thing. It wasn't just your expertise and your wisdom. It was really having the group and really building on each other. There was so much that Adriana shared that would inspire me. And so it's also having the group and everyone's expertise in that as well. So just from reading the chats, we have some college administrators, we have some clinical some I think it's some clinical someone has clinical background, high school. So I think being in a group with each other, you all will learn from each other as well, not just from Joshua.
That's so true. Oh, that's a true statement. And I learned in the process. And I like, Ariana, how would I start a good starting point for the college market? Whew, wow, there's so many things. I think number one, figuring out what is your message. I think we've talked about that. What is your message? What is your message? And will colleges pay you to come speak about that message? I think that's number one. Number two, and then number three, building your business off of that message, off of that market. And that's a process in itself, but that's definitely what I would look at. Adriana, why is your passion market sports? Any particular age demographic? Take it away, Adriana.
Well, I have an extensive sports background. When I was fresh out of college, I interned at a sports agency. I actually wanted to be an NFL agent, but then I was like, you know what? I don't want to do that no more. So I got more into sports marketing and sports media. And with me interning at a sports agency and having friends that were in the NFL, I just realized that a lot of them came from very broken households. Just the things that they kind of get involved in once they get drafted, and just seeing that a lot of them don't really know what their purpose is outside of the sport. And so what I wanted to do was to go into that specific industry and be able to empower them and to help them identify their purpose over their career, to help them make the transition from where they were at that moment to where they're supposed to be, and just really bring a sense of encouragement, because I don't think people really understand the psychological and the emotional turmoil that athletes do go through. So sports is always been my passion, it's always been my heart. And then of course, being a former dancer for a world-class organization, go Heat.
Boo. We're Laker fans over here. Come on now. Nah. Go Lakers.
Every day. And see, we got Heat. Listen, they know what's up. Heat Nation.
Doug, come on, give us for LeBron James, Doug. I know there's a Laker fan out there. I got a Laker fan out there. Don't worry, he gonna post it in.
And then also for me, I realized there's not a lot of women also dominating that market, and I just feel as though for me, I think my voice is needed in that particular industry, and I want to be like the woman version of E.T. I always say that I want to be the woman version of Eric Thomas. I want to be able to go into that industry now. Specific age group, I can say I don't mind starting off with high school and then working myself up to the pros, but mine will probably be more so from high school to professional. So probably like 15, 16 years old, all the way until,
Awesome. I see. I just want you to know, you see all those Laker fans in there just through the chat. just thought I'd share that.
Between being a Laker fan and a LeBron fan, I see a lot of LeBron. Now go Lakers.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions? We're 5 minutes over, but any other questions? Oh, Angelica, how has your acting background influenced your path?
Okay, and then also, Angelica, what is your message? So I have an acting background, like I said, and being on stage, I was comfortable with being on the stage, but I think again, being able to tell your as an actor, but being able to tell your story is very different, right? Like you're opening up, and one of the things that I learned, even though I'm a vulnerable person, I open up is like speak from your scars, not your wounds. Like sometimes when it's, sometimes it's just like if it's fresh or something that's really hard to speak from or speak about, like part of speaking is also taking care of your audience. So if I'm up there crying and, which I tend to do, like tears are my love language, but I also have to be careful that I'm not up there crying the whole time and that the audience is like, is she okay? They want to take care of me. So getting emotional and being vulnerable is important, but I think it's also important to know that like you want to inspire your audience, you want to leave them with a message, and you want them to also, want it to make sense as opposed to them feeling confused. They need to take care of you, what's going on. So I had to find that balance. And my message, so I work with college students. I work at a all women's college. And so one of the things, I'm the revolutionary love coach. So I talk a lot about self-love, right? I went through a lot of things, childhood trauma around sexual assault, abusive relationships. So when I think about really loving myself, learning to love myself and give from that place as opposed to giving from a place of codependency and wanting to take care of everyone. Meanwhile, I'm depleted and I'm exhausted. I had to really shift and like giving myself, loving myself, and then I'm able to then give more, be more of service. And so, so I started to branch out, like Joshua said, I feel like it's important to start where you are. So some of the questions I hear, like you have college experience, but you want to branch out. Sometimes it's important to start where you are because, for example, I know how the college circuit works, right? I know that students are always looking for speakers. They're always looking for inspiring folks to come in. And so that's also a good way to start. If you're looking to start in the college market, but you don't have any experience, see if you can offer your services for free, and then till you get a name for yourself or you're known, because they definitely are always looking for speakers, always looking for someone to come in and inspire the students. That's a given. There's a budget for that. And so, they have to spend it. And so, and especially now with everything going on and students feel lost, there's a lot of anxiety and a lot of fear. I think this is a great chance to speak and be inspiring,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I answered the questions.
That was powerful. That was powerful. That's awesome. Awesome. They love it. They love it. I love it. Two more questions. If anyone has more questions, because I know I'm over, but any other questions? Rand, any questions? I don't see any, so I'm assuming we're good. Okay, I'll give like one more minute. Going once, going twice.
Can we leave them with Angelica? Would you mind us just giving them just some words of encouragement before they leave? Oh, top five.
What about top five? When you say top five, what do you mean? What do you mean top five, Ariana? What do you mean top five? But real quick, I'll answer that. But real quick, Adriana, leave your closing thought real quick, and then Angelica, or however you guys want to, or however you both want to do that, and then when she puts that in there, I'll be able to answer it.
Okay, so we just want to encourage you all that are on here that maybe share their top. Oh, you could go ahead and close it out. Your top five. You see how you asked Angelica and our top five things we took away from the speaking boot camp. They're asking what is your top five. Let me mute myself.
I have to think about that, but I'll share one. I'm gonna give you one because I have to think about that. I'll share two. I think the first thing that I learned, and this was big. So in the program, we talk about how to be an effective communicator. And so I talk about how do you create your message? Because again, your message, that's really what people are coming to hear. But a lot of times, and any speaker knows, there's a structure, the way you create your message. Like there's a lot of things for seasoned speakers that you have to be aware of in order to move an audience. And so, I was going through with Angelica and Adriana about how to shape your message and talking about the different dynamics of the message. So like, for instance, when I give a point, I say what it is, I say why it's important, and then I put on a story to give the how so that you're hitting those three people in the audience. That's just something I talk about. But one of the things that I realized and I talk about with generations is when I first started speaking, lecturing was big. That was more of a Generation X, a baby boomer thing. As millennials begin to come onto the college campuses, it became more digital, more multimedia. So you have the PowerPoints, you have the videos. But what I'm learning about with Generation Z, again, not all college, but a lot of them, is they're very much kinesthetic learners. And so what I realized, I had to start including activities or experiences in my presentation. So like, for instance, one of my messages is on diversity and inclusion. And so I have this thing where I put this viral math problem and I'll have them try to figure it out and figure it out and figure it out. And then I know that none of them are going to get the answer right, although they've been taught and they think they're right. And then out of that, I'll take them right into my presentation. So it's kind of like engaging to bring them out, to get them involved and have them doing something, and then bringing them into my message. And so that's one of the things that I've learned is very effective with this younger generation. It really came out of our conversation about talking about our audience and how to put together a presentation. The other thing that I'll share later is this whole is digital marketing. I think that's critical. E-learning courses. So like, for instance, if you were to talk to me last year, I say, yeah, you get a book, maybe you get an ebook. Now it's different. Now, when I talk about a book, do you have a book? Do you have a training book? And then you have an e-learning module that goes along with the book, because you want the full program, because what that's going to do, you can go into companies, you can go into colleges, but also you can make people accessible that may not work for a company or may not go to a college. So that's just something to think about as well that I would have talked about a year ago, but in our conversation as I'm growing, that's one of the things that I talk about. So that would be my top 5. So that was great. So final words, Adriana, Angelica?
Well, I think I just want to say, be prepared for transformation. It really is a transformational journey. It's not just about learning. It's not just about, cognitive. It really is about the heart, about the head, the heart, and the gut. Like speaking, you bring your full self. And so be ready to bring your full self, be ready to be transformed, and, be ready to, in the middle of a session, Joshua might go into a prayer and feel led. We had many, we just felt led and just felt the spirit, and we were just all in prayer. Now, whether you believe in prayer or God, the universe, and a higher power, it's, you can tell that there was a spirit there, there was the energy there. And so it really, all of our, and they would always go past the time because it's so exciting. And that was great, right? Joshua, you would say, okay, I want to respect your time. You can go, but you can also stay. We ended up always just staying because it was so rich and there was so much to learn from each other. So those are my final words. And, I just say, like, what do you have to lose? Go for it. Now is a time to really learn these skills and to be valuable. And again, use your voice for the voiceless. The folks, think about your privilege that you're able to be on this call, right? You're able to be on this Zoom call. You're able to make an investment in yourself. There are a lot of people who aren't able to be here, that don't have a voice, that don't have a platform. So I say, as opposed to well, that would be nice if I became a speaker. Let it be an obligation. Let it be your service. Let it be your calling. So those are my final words. Thank you, Joshua.
So thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that was awesome. That was powerful. I love it. Adriana.
Well, my word of encouragement to all of you that is on here tonight is to do something different. Step out of your comfort zone, challenge yourself, and literally strive for greatness. Some of you right now, you probably are still wrestling with the thought, should you invest in yourself because of everything that's happening? Some of you right now may be looking at your finances and maybe saying that, you know what, I really want to do this, but I don't know if I'm going to have the money to really participate in this boot camp. I want to challenge you to step out on faith and to invest in yourself. Do not look at, this investment as you just giving away money, but look at it as a way of you planting a seed into your future. A lot of us right now, we're in this pandemic, and there are so many things, opportunities right now that is being presented to us, so that way we can prepare ourselves for the next season that we're getting ready to walk into. And so some of you don't even know right now that what you invest today is literally going to pay you tomorrow. If you just go ahead and step out on faith and invest into your life. I'm just going to use the terminology sow. You know, sow into your life, sow into your future, and sow into where you want to go. I look at Joshua. Joshua is someone that has the experience, okay? He's not only going to sit here and tell you what you want to hear, and it's going to be a drive-by boot camp. He's going to sit and he's going to help you cultivate that message. He's going to sit and help you get the tools that you need so you can succeed at the level that you want to go. And so I just want to encourage you all tonight to go ahead and step out on faith. I don't know who this is for, but there's somebody on here you're probably really wrestling with. Should I join this boot camp? I really want to do it. You feel a tugging in your heart to do it, but you're battling because you're looking at your situation now. You're looking at the pandemic. You're looking at all these other things. But I just want you to step out on faith, invest in yourself now, because you don't even know that what you plant right now, the harvest that's going to come from it.
That's awesome. Wow, that was powerful. That was powerful, Dree. Well, I don't think I have nothing to say to that. Man, that was powerful. That was powerful. I want to thank you so much for those powerful words. I want to thank you all so much for staying with us for the last hour and 20 minutes. Man, it's amazing how time flies by. Again, you all know, if you're interested, I guess I'll put it back up just to make sure. But if you're interested, I'll put it back up just in. Do I have it? Is it coming up? Okay, sorry. For those of you that may, we're gonna go back. For those of you that still may be interested, feel free to email me. Email me visionxybookings@gmail.com, and then I can send you more information about being a part of our next session that will begin Monday, June 29th. So you have a whole month to think about it. Sooner the better. But I want to thank you all so much. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And I hope to see you all in the next month when the program launches. Have a great rest of the week, great weekend, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for your great questions.
Bye.